given I and j, you want to find out the number of distinct elements between I and j, right? So a basic method would be to take all these points from I to j, sort them and find out the duplicates and report the distinct ones, but that is too slow. Now a sample array, we have, let's say, if we have an array like this, let's look at 0. The next index of 0 is 3. So we start scanning this, we find out the first index where this point occurs, and we report that in our next array. So next of I stores the next position where the element is same as A of I, where A is our sequence, right? So for this, the next number would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4, 5, 7 for this 3, 2 doesn't repeat, so we can simply store, let's say we write some large number here, okay? So if a number doesn't repeat anymore, we can write some large number there, otherwise we write the next index. So again this 0 doesn't repeat, so we will also write some large number, let's denote it infinity here and here. Then this minus 1 repeats next, so we'll write 6 here, we'll write infinity here, and we'll write infinity here as well. So does it make sense? How is this array computed? Now you can compute this full array in order of n log n if you have access to a map. So I'll tell you how to do that. You will process from here to here. Each entry you will insert in the map and update its position as this. And before doing that, you will check what is the position of the same entry. So they will give you the last position of that entry, and you store that in this array. If that entry is not found, then you write infinite. Does that make sense? So I'll write the pseudocode. Let's say we have a C++ map. So I'll write for I from n minus 1 up to 0. I will see if A of I present in the map, then next of I, that position would be stored in the map, will be M of A of I, right? Otherwise else next of I is equal to infinity. Is this clear? Infinity is some large number. Now after we are done with this, we will also set M of A of I equal to I, because we are declaring here that we found A of I at ith position. So if A of I was present at some other place as well, this value would get rewritten. So we will always have the latest, the least index where this number is present, right? So this map operations are order of log n, so we get this whole thing in order of n log n. So we have a array next preprocessed. Yes, you can use if m dot find of some number, let's say A of I. This will either return m dot end, in which case this is not present, otherwise it will return the iterator where it's present. In our case we are not using the position, we are simply checking, so you can use this. Now we start taking I and next of I as a point in 2D plane. We can plot these points I comma next of I. We can plot them, right, for all n points. Now let's look at our query which asks to find distinct numbers from I to j, right. So what we are looking for is all the numbers in I to j such that their successor is not coming before j, right. So if we plotted these points in a 2D plane, I comma next I am looking at points in this window, that is this x range, right, such that their y coordinate is more than j. Take a minute to think about this. Next of I stores the successor of ith element, that is the least position after I where this element occurs. Once I plot them, when I am asking distinct points in I to j, I am looking for points whose successor comes after j, so that I know that these points are not repeated before j, right. So in this range, that is I to j, I am looking for points whose y coordinate is more than j, right. Now if I put some line at infinity, then I have a nice box. The coordinates, the x coordinate of this x range is I to j, range of y is j to infinity, right, because I want to count all points which also have their successor set as infinity, because they are not repeating. So the problem here reduces to, you are given a set of points. In each query, I draw a rectangle and ask you to find number of points in that rectangle. If I could solve this problem efficiently, I can also solve the D query problem, right? Now, let's look at 1D version of this problem. So 1D version is, you are given a set of integers. You want to find out the number of integers which occur in a range. How do you solve this problem? Anybody? You can use binary index tree. So what if the coordinates, then the numbers are up to 10 to the power 9?
Then we can map it into 1 to n.
What if you have duplicate numbers? Anyway, a very simple solution would be to sort all the numbers given. Each time I give you a range, you do binary search for the lower end, binary search for the higher end. You get two indexes. All the numbers between them is your answer, right? Does it make sense? For the 2D version of this problem, we can use segment trees. So we'll have in each node a start index and an end index. All the numbers which have x coordinate from this start to this end, I'll sort their y coordinates and keep it in this node. And it will also have two childs, start to mid and mid plus 1 to end. So essentially each node has a segment. That segment denotes the range of x coordinates, and you also store the sorted list of y coordinates for all numbers which have x coordinate in this range. So if I want to compute this sorted list, I will have this sorted list and this sorted list, right? I can merge these two lists to obtain a list at a node. So I can compute this segment tree bottom up. Is that clear? Now suppose I am given some query from x to y. This x to y, I will check with the root of the tree. If this xy contains this full interval, I can do a binary search in this. Otherwise, if xy has some intersection with the left child, I go to the left child and compute answer. If it has some intersection with the right child, I go to the right child and compute the answer and add them up. This is a basic method using segment trees. So any interval I give you will have some nodes for which it will fully contain those intervals, right? And in all those nodes we will do a binary search. We will not do a binary search if that is not true, right? And the number of nodes when I use this construction which will intersect with this, which will be fully contained in this, is limited by 2 log n. You guys can read up more about the proof of this. When I keep dividing a range in half, keep doing that and store it like this. At most 2 log n nodes will be used to represent any interval. So in all these 2 log n nodes, I will do a binary search which will be another log n. So it is log square n. You need to read about this 2 log n statement that I gave you. This whole range of problems, this whole class of problems is called orthogonal range query problems. I will again share some reference material on this problem where you can read more about it so that you guys can read it up in your free time. I should mention here that there is also a technique called fractional cascading. I will not go into the details. It is a slightly advanced method. Using fractional cascading, we can reduce the query time from order of n square log n to order of log square n to order of log n per query. If you are interested, you can read up on this, but just for solving the problem D query, this optimization is not required. So you guys can read up on this, and you guys understand segment trees anyway, I hope. So you can use segment trees to solve the problem D query. You can try it out today. So I'll explain a way to solve this problem. Suppose you knew any one point inside this polygon. You can take any point inside the polygon. You have all the vertices of the polygon. You can sort these vertices on slope with respect to this point. Right? It takes order of n log n time to sort the vertices with respect to slope on this point. Now I give you any query point, so you can extend and have the whole 2D coordinate system. It will fall in one of these ranges, right? Any point I take will lie between some two lines. So if I am given some particular point, I will take the slope with respect to my point which I chose in the beginning. Let's say the slope is this. Now I have a sorted list of slopes, so I can find where the slope will lie in that list using binary search. Make sense? But you also have to note that this list is circular, so you just have to take a special case where it's more than the last element or something like that. That you can take. Other than that, it's simple binary search. Now suppose I found that this point is within these two lines. Do you know of a way through which I can determine if this point lies inside the polygon or not? Cross product. So I have this segment, I have this point which I know definitely inside the polygon. If this point lies on the other side, it's outside the polygon, otherwise it's inside. Fairly simple, right?